Hello everybody, Michael here for Tactica Imperialis. Welcome to today's video. Today I want to have a discussion, sort of. Actually, no I don't. I want to make a suggestion to all of you, hobbyists across the YouTube community, online, offline, whoever you are in the hobby. I have a piece of advice for you. Embrace everything in the hobby. And you might be asking yourself, well, Michael, of course I do all of that. Of course, I do all this stuff. I paint, I play, I build my models. What more do you want me to do? Get more into it. Let me explain. So, for anyone who knows me and has been following this channel at all, you know I can't paint. I can't paint for jack. I'm terrible. Most of my orcs, when I got them originally, looked like crap. My guardsmen didn't look much better. My elves were tolerable, I guess, but they were still hardly amazing. They were what most people would consider below average. Because I didn't care for washes, I didn't care for highlights, I didn't care for dry brushing, stippling, overbrushing, and all these other fancy things, faux metals, and just like, I couldn't be bothered. I really could not be bothered because I didn't care about painting. And so I was terrible at it. What I enjoyed was messing around with the frames, building models, converting, kit bashing, often badly, I'll point that out, and then gaming. That was what I enjoyed the most. I also had a little bit of a thing for story, but it never really bothered me that much. Until, well, this channel, actually, and more specifically, when Kieran and Ben came on board. Because they paint better than I do. Kieran in particular is ridiculously good. Anyone who's seen his Harlequins in the battle report and maybe on Twitter will know they look beautiful. Like, just the freehand and the time. Like, he tells me it takes him like an hour and a half to paint a guy on average. Like, that's inconceivable to me, but they look amazing. And it really, I'm not going to say it shamed me, but it inspired me to get painting. It inspired me to do better, to actually take the time with the next box I bought, because I wasn't going to repaint something to try and do a best model. I was going to wait till I got something new to do something awesome with them. And now I have. I bought a box of Orc knobs, and I've actually got a box of Orc boys sat upstairs that I'm about to start painting. And now that I've painted them, I'm actually happy with them. They're still what people would generally consider to be very, 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 very average. But to me, for the time I put into them and the way they changed my outlook on painting, that's what makes it so special. It's like, when I got home after, or when I did some revision, I got in, did some revision, and then I sat down and was like, okay, what do I want to do? I want to paint. I wanted to paint, and that to me, 18 months ago, was inconceivable that I want to paint. It just didn't make sense. But then I was thinking about, okay, so how am I going to make this colour work? What am I going to do? What's my next wash, my next highlight? I actually gave a crap all of a sudden. And the results were unbelievably different. They're still bad to most people, but to me they are right up there. And I'm really glad about that. Plus, this is probably just from buying books, because I'm a bookworm, but reading the 40k lore has been really inspiring. It has got me hyped up for lore in a way that I never thought possible, to the point where I actually restarted 40k stories, partly because I'd just seen more lore, and because I actually got a subscriber suggestion to do it. And there'll be more lore actually coming up hopefully soon. But it also got me inspired to write my own lore, which is something I never thought to do in the past. So, as a piece of coursework, last year, early on in the channel's history, I actually wrote a short story in a parallel of the 40k universe. Just for reasons, I chose not to use Games Workshop names like Eldar and the Imperium. I changed it slightly, but it was basically a 40k short story that if I changed a few names, would basically be a 40k short story. And that was really fun to do, and I got full marks for it from my teachers. And I was like, I really enjoyed that. That was a lot of fun. To the point where I've actually written a lot of extensive lore for something that's coming up. But I won't tell you any more about that. You'll have to wait. There'll be an announcement video out pretty soon, I would expect, to explain what's going on with that. But suffice to say that the lore bug has bitten me well and truly, and I'm really enjoying writing stories as much as I am reading them. And that's just my story, though. And the reason that I bring me up is to explain why you should explore everything in the hobby. Because there are hidden gems within every aspect. Within conversion, within construction, there is a certain thing that calls to people to make custom guides. Not just, okay, here's the frame, here's the instruction manual, here's how I put the model together, done. Great if you're mass producing, but when you're doing characters, when you're doing clever things, you just want to branch out and make custom guides. Both so you can reflect the badassery of this individual by adding maybe a different head or giving him a different weapon. Maybe the model comes armed with a sword and a pistol and you want it to be armed with a hammer because you like thunder hammers for some reason. So you make that conversion, or kit bash as some people call it, and that's all it needs. Sometimes just experimenting with components to make guys look awesome is all you need to do to enjoy construction in a way you probably wouldn't if you were just building them out of the box. Or maybe you're just someone who has to experiment and mess around because, well, they just have to do it. But even if you're not one of the people who just messes around for the sake of it, I cannot recommend enough that you just try your hand at converting. I'll tell you from experience, they often look terrible, but some of them come off. Some of them look really good, and you would never know that you were using components from 3-4 different kits to make that model look like a badass. I've already talked about painting, but the reason painting I think gets to people is because it is probably the most laborious process in the hobby. For most people anyway. Like, some people take hours over scratch building and construction, others slave away at the tactical drawing board coming up with ideas, but for most people painting is the longest job that you'll have to do per model, because, well, there's a lot of different colours and then you can go to different degrees of difficulty and skill. But when you take the time to work on a model, you become more invested in that model. You get attached to it. You start thinking about it in a different way. You think, okay, this guy, maybe I'm going to paint his gun with a golden casing because it's his special gun. Or perhaps I'm going to give him kill markings on his arm or on his power fist or something because he's killed so many enemies. And then I'm going to give him a special one mounted on the inside to show a vehicle kill or something. Maybe you had a sergeant with a power fist before he was painted, who ripped a vehicle apart and then punched a few guys in the face. And you mark that on his power fist, his kill markings. And it really can just inspire you to do more. Sometimes looking at a paint scheme, going online, looking at, maybe not Golden Demon entries, they can be intimidating to a point, but just looking at other hobbyists' work and seeing what other hobbyists are capable of can make you think, that's really cool. I love the way he's done those models, or he or she has done these models. I want to do that. And it might inspire you to go and get a new kit just to paint it like that. Particularly if you are not a hardcore gamer who doesn't really care about what the army's made up of and just wants it to look pretty, a la Kieran, then you can really have a lot of fun with painting. And then of course there's gaming. Now I'm going to split gaming up into three parts. Casual, narrative, competitive. Casual gaming to some people is weird. Some people don't get casual gaming. Some people don't understand the idea that losing is okay. I'm one of those people. I hate losing. I'll hold my hand up. I hate losing. And I'm still a bit of an arse about it. But I understand why people game casually, because it's more laid back, it's more fun, you can do it without spending hours list tailoring or spending some time list tailoring. And rather than being OCD about the rules, it can be a much more laid-back affair. Of course, cheating is still not allowed, but you can be a lot more chill about it. Then you have narrative gaming, where you write custom scenarios, or maybe you script the battle so that your two heroes will come together at the end or in the middle at the climax to fight it out. Or some people don't get that as well, because like, why would you want to put your hero in a position where he's more likely than not going to get absolutely murked, particularly when it's a scenario such as an avatar against just a standard Space Marine captain? Why would you put your captain in that position and give up Slay the Warlord immediately to an avatar? Well, because it looks bloody cool. And also, why would you write scenarios when one side is definitely going to win it? Well, because it's cool. The rule of cool applies. Plus, there's something within every competitive player that likes to beat the no-win scenario. To beat the scenario that they have no right to beat. There was a story in Gods of Mars, I think it was about the battle for Vogan, which is known to the Cadians as the no-win scenario. Because even if you could hold the city, you would still lose in a way. And the challenge to them in this end fight scene, I won't spoil it, was to win the no-win scenario. I won't spoil the ending for you. You'll have to go and read Gods of Mars. But it's something that gets to a competitive player that you want to win the no-win scenario. Or you just want to be in a position where you can curb stomp somebody because, well, people get a kick out of that. I don't know why. And then you have competitive gaming. I have bashed on tournament gaming more than once. Despite being a semi-competitive player who likes winning and likes making sure they win well rather than just getting stomped, I bash on sweaty lists and I bash on power gamers, and I'll hold my hand up. I'm sorry. I shouldn't do that. If I'm honest, I'm more like you than I care to admit, and I probably take that out on you, and I'm sorry. So there you go. But there is a real thing that pulls at people for competitive gaming to demonstrate superiority, tactical power, to show that you are the most skilled player, that your army is the most competitive, particularly in the same army against itself, to show that you have the greater flair at coming up with a way to win. Of course, if you're playing Eldar against Guard, that's not the same, but when you're in those close matches, coming out on top is a real adrenaline rush for competitive gamers, and that's why tournaments are so popular, because we want to get that rush of winning, even if we can be very cruel when we lose, and when we win. I'm sorry on behalf of me to all my friends, and on behalf of the community to all power gamers, about the cruelty that we can put out when we're winning, and the dickishness when we're losing. Sorry. So yeah, that was my message. You should really get out there and explore everything. The reason for that is because there is so much out there that you probably didn't realise. If you are a casual gamer who doesn't care about how pretty the models look, then you are missing out on so much. Maybe because you don't understand why people like it. Like, I didn't understand what the appeal of painting was until you actually do it. Go out there, paint your models to as good a standard as you can. Play with a competitive list, write custom scenarios, spend time converting, and you will experience so many different things that you would never have come across if you hadn't done that. The rush of a competitive win that you grind out and steal on the last turn. The sense of pride at putting these beautiful models on the table, even if they don't die on turn one. And if you are a competitive gamer, chill out. I'm preaching to myself as much as I am to you. Chill out. Winning isn't everything. You're allowed to be casual, so do it. If your opponent comes along and says, it's not the most competitive list, but I'll give you a game, sure. Think, I'm not going to take my curb stompy tournament list like the Flying Croissant or a billion Wraith Knights. I'll experiment. You know, let's try some Striking Scorpions out. Let's try some Shining Spears out. You know what I mean? Experiment, have fun, be chill. Chill out, man. You get what I mean? And I think that covers my message, really. So the point that I've got at, and I hope that you've understood if I haven't rammed it home hard enough, is get out there and give every part of the hobby a try. Because if you don't, you'll regret it. And you'll be missing out on something that you could really learn to appreciate. So there you go. thank you very much for watching. I hope you found this video useful, and I hope that this advice works for you. My name is Michael for Tactica Imperialis. Until the next time, I'll see you all again.